I think it's about time and we should get started. So, a very good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for making time for this session. We are really grateful to each one of you for your presence here. So, as you all know, at Development Consortium or DC, we call it in short, at DC, we are observing Gyaan Daan. It's a week-long event in which, as an organization, we are facilitating conversations to share knowledge, to share wisdom so that, we all can grow together. And this we are doing through a series of panel discussions. So, for example, yesterday it was day one of Gyaan Daan, and we had a very engaging and very energizing conversation around fundraising, around organizational sustainability. Today is day two of Gyaan Daan, and the theme for today's panel discussion is cross-sector collaboration for shared impact. I'm Kavita, and this session will be jointly moderated by me and my colleague Karthikeyan. While I lead the program design vertical in the organization, Karthik leads the program implementation part, basically in the southern part of India. So also supporting us on the panel today is Aarti, Director for Comms and Strategy at DC. So before we go on and introduce our, our esteemed panelists to all of you, to all the audience and the participants, I'd just like to take a moment to briefly talk about the theme for this session. What exactly cross sector collaboration and this theme is, and what exactly we are trying to do, during this 1.5 hour time. So basically, we are trying to unpack the idea and the practice of cross-sector collaboration. I'm sure you must have you must be already practicing a lot of collaboration, in your respective roles, in your respective organizations. So the idea is to unpack what exactly cross-sector collaboration means. What are different layers to this particular theme. See, broadly, we all understand that a meaningful cross-sector collaboration is really important because the kind of challenges that we are grappling with in the development sector are quite huge. And maybe, no single sector or no single actor has the expertise or say the resources, the time, or I would say even the reach to address these challenges alone. So with that thought in mind, we had this idea that we'll put together a panel that has the representation from different sectors, and in that sense, it's a very unique panel because this panel actually bring forth the voices of the leaders and the practitioners from the government, corporate, and the not-for-profit organizations. So the idea is very simple here. We would like to hear different perspectives, around this particular theme. So when we hear this particular idea that maybe, working in silos is not helping us, let's come together, let's collaborate, let's, create that synergy. So what it means. So we'll listen to different perspectives. We'll also be very respectful to each other's, ideas and experiences. And basically at the end of the day, what we are trying to do is to just develop an understanding or maybe reinstate the understanding that we already have, that what it takes to align different stakeholders, different sectors or actors towards shared outcomes. So with that, I would like to invite my colleague Karthikeyan to, formally introduce our panelists to all of the participants. Over to you, Karthik.
Karthik, you are on mute in case you're speaking. And can we have the panelists switch on their videos so that we can meet you? And also, Nirbhay, I can't see him on the screen. If that he can also be pinned down.
Yeah, Nirbhay is in the meeting.
Call. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Welcome,
Yeah.
Nirbhay.
Welcome, Nirbhay.
Hello, everyone, and good evening. I'm Karthikeyan, heading the programs in South India. It's my pleasure to welcome all the panelists and to have the privilege of introducing you all to the audience. Yeah, let me introduce Dr. Hari Prasad. He's currently Deputy Director at DSCRT Bangalore with over 2 decades of experience in education administration, teacher development, and curriculum design. He started his career as a headmaster and he held the crucial roles like block education officer and senior lecturer in various dietes. He also served as a chief consultant for NCERT work on NCF National Curriculum Framework. Dr. Hari Prasad has an impressive track record of action. He personally trained over 40,000 teachers and developing training models for the teacher educators. On top of that, top of all, he is also a complete writer. He penned down over 3,000 poems, authored research reports, and delivered numerous talks on TV and radio. He holds a PhD on folk learning and recognized innovator, having received the NCERT National Fellowship and prestigious Guru Chetana Award. He is in true inspiration for many of us here. Please join me in welcoming true advocate for quality education and lifelong learning, Dr. Hari Prasad. Welcome, Dr. Hari Prasad, for this session.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. So next we have Mr. Nirbhay Lumde with us. Nirbhay is a recognized top corporate sustainability voice in India, and he brings over 2 decades of hands-on experience driving powerful environment, social and governance strategies across different industries. So he currently leads ESG initiatives at the Prestige Group, and under his leadership, companies have tripled their community outreach, significantly reduced their carbon emissions, and rapidly advanced their net zero commitments. He is very passionate about developing the next generation of leaders. He's also authored several papers and books. And among others, you can also check out his latest book, Blueprints for Sustainable Leadership. It's been published this year, very recently. So please join me in welcoming Nirbhay. A very warm welcome to you, Nirbhay. Welcome to the panel.
Thanks, Kavita. Thanks for the introduction.
Thank you, Kavita. It's my pleasure to introduce our final panelist, Pushplata Rawat. Pushplata is the leader in non-profit sector, currently heading state operation for Root to Read across Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, and Himachal Pradesh. Her work is focused on rolling out high-impact literacy and gender equality programs. Crucially for our discussion today, her expertise lies in fostering collaboration and building the strategic partnership that brings government, corporate, and communities together to ensure these programs succeed. She brings a wealth of cross-sector experience, including 4 years as a national UN volunteer with UNDP Disaster Risk Management Project, where she consulted on everything from gender equity to community-driven program design. Outside of her vital work, she holds a formal degree in management and has a passion for nature and ecosystem farming. Please give a warm welcome to Pushplata Rawat. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right.
Over to you, Kavita.
Thank you so much, Karthik. And once again, extending a warm welcome to all our participants and all our panelists. These are some of the very basic instructions for our participants. So just this that, whenever you have a thought, your reflections, we welcome you to share all your thoughts, all your questions in the chat box. Just keep them coming. We'll be collecting your questions, in case you prefer to ask them in between the session. You hear a point, there's a question that comes to your mind, you write it there in the chat box. And you also tag the name of the panelist to whom your question is, directed. In case it's a general question, you can also mention that. However, towards the end, we also have a dedicated Q&A segment, as a part of this panel. So we would love to hear your voices. In case you would want to, directly ask your question from the panelist, you can save your question for the last, or you can simply, raise your hand, during that segment, and you can ask your question directly. So this was for the participants. Let's move on. Okay, so this is basically the flow for the day for this 1.5 hours. Of course, we'll have our panel discussion, and the panel discussion is divided into, 4 rounds. There's a short audience engagement also, halfway through the discussion. So there's a short poll for the audience. This will be followed by Q&A, and after that, we'll be, sharing our reflections, and we'll be wrapping up the session. So before we take a dive into the deep end, I would request all of you, in case you're comfortable, just switch on your camera for a group photo.
Comms team is doing their job or not? Please, somebody has to say it.
Let me give a count of 3 so that everybody gives me their best smile. So on the count of 3, comms please team, please be ready. On 1, on 2, and 3. Click. One more time. 1, 2, 3, click. Thank you, everyone.
All right. I think over to you, Karthik.
Yeah. Thank you, Kavita. So once again, warm welcome to all the panelists, and we'll start with the grounding perspective cross-sector collaboration question. Yeah. To set the context, let's begin with the foundation question. From your perspective, what does cross-sector collaboration truly mean in your sector? So, Hari Prasad ji, you can take this, and then Pushpalata and
it's better to start with Pushpalata ji.
Okay.
In government setup, cross-sector collaboration do take place, but in our setup, it depends upon the personalities and the and the people inside. So sometimes to have a kind of a brainstorming, it's better to start with Pushpalata ji, as she has worked with many governments, and then I'll come.
Thank you, Hari Prasad. So when we talk about collaboration, it is like the different sector. Like if we are working, one definitely collaboration comes up with the government, because when we want to work anything on scale, when we want to work anything which requires system strengthening, government is an integral part of that. Secondly comes the corporate sector. It could be bilateral, the donors. It could be the bilateral agencies. It could be the CSR. It could be high net worth individuals also. So that is the second part of collaboration. Thirdly comes like when we are in that space of development sector where a lot of organizations are working, it is also collaboration between different organizations, because every organization has its own bandwidth in terms of the human resource, in terms of its expertise. So even within the collaboration would come different forms of collaboration within the organization. For example, some organization would be doing very well in the assessment, that becomes their specialization. There'll be some organization that will be working in a particular thematic area. For example, if I say, suppose we are talking in terms of the foundational literacy. So Room to Read may be an expert in literacy domain, but for numeracy, we'll collaborate with some other organization which has an expertise. So this brings another layer of collaboration. Then another thing comes with the pure academic institutions, because we come more like a practitioner, and then there is an academic body, purely academic bodies. It could be the research institution, higher education. And then comes the community in terms of a lot of community institutions that exist. It could be, depending upon one's nature of work, it could be the PRIs. Like for us, community libraries have been one of them. There could be, so this comes up. And one very interesting collaboration that usually comes up is the kind of volunteer database that comes. So when we talk of volunteers, then the volunteers also you'll find across so many things. Like you find NSS volunteers, you find NCC volunteers. So apart from that, within like scouts and guides, so it brings it like what you say, you are touching into every component. And then there are policy level institutions that come in, because there is one policy level institution which looks into the drafting of the policy. There also that the feedback from the practitioner from different academic institution has to go in. So I think when you look into collaboration, and last but not the least, basically a lot of decisions get flowed from the political and the economic environment that we people are in. So engaging with the key decision makers who are at that, educating them, because I think a lot of progress about any particular program comes in when it gets taken up at that particular level. So engaging with them also becomes more critical. So that, as Kavita, you initially said, it's a complex thing, and so the collaborations are also multiple at different levels.
Right,
Yes.
right. Thank you, Pushplata. So,
Collaboration.
Hari.
First of all, I'm thankful to DC for organizing this Gyaan Daan. It's something which is giving, something which is serving. So collaboration starts with this note. Thank you, Pushpalata ji, for having put forward for keeping your views straight as far as collaboration is concerned. Collaboration for me truly means it's growing by giving. It's something like serving for surviving, serving for success, and finally breaking the barriers and building the bridges. That's what collaboration for us means. Breaking the barriers and building the bridges is much most suitable component as far as in our government setup, where even departments work in silos, and within the department sections work in silos. So breaking that barrier and building bridges within the government and with the NGOs is very much needed. So the collaboration by keeping this in the background, collaboration for us in government setup is with ideation. There are so many problems which are there in the large working environment, and in line agency like implementation body of government setup, what happens, we jump for the solutions without understanding the problems. So instead of straight away jumping for the solutions, we need to understand the problems for which a breathing space is required. And most of our people who are IAS from IAS background want the solutions immediately. And the whole government setup runs behind the solution which is being provided by the person who is from outside without understanding it. And most of the people will jump into that solution and will not find whatever it may be. So from the ideation part, the collaboration is required. From ideation to designing program, from program to implementation, from implementation to the process of implementation, and then the after the implementation, the outcome, output, and the impact. So together, all these things, and in each part, again, program evaluation, process evaluation, and the impact evaluation, or the implementation, the assessment of the impact. So together, evaluation part. All these parts wherein we need the collaboration.
Collaboration. Yeah. Thank you, Hari Prasad. It's a good way to describe the whole process, how the collaboration happens. Over to you, Nirbhay. Just your thought about cross-sector collaboration.
Yeah. I think big thanks, Karthik, for inviting me here. It's wonderful to see. I think it's always pleasure to be part in such a forum. I think my background largely also comes from the education. I did work in the space of this space for quite long. Also being an BA trained teacher in my past role. While I moved on from there, what I had the foundational. I think pleasure to be here. And it's glad to hear from Dr. Hari Prasad, then also from Pushpalata. I think you've got two stalwarts here, Karthik, who have been part and parcel of the system. I'm sure the kind of collaboration the government really does, what Hari Prasad is going to speak. I'm sure Pushpalata ji, with her room to read experience, having done ton loads of the collaborations, I'm sure the discussion is going to be more interesting. I think I'll give it two large perspective with my own understanding. One being part of an not-for-profit to start with, and today with an industry. I think today largely the wherewithal is with the government, respectively. I think we all look while we have our own reservations about how government really works, and we have reservations about the inept or about lack of accountability. Today, if you ask me, the systematic change is all with the government. We as a second or third party as an entity, we are only here to create or build those proof of concepts, or could be pilots, or to maximum that, yeah, something that really works for us to really, we can prove of the pudding that we can really create. Collaboration in the context of the NGOs is largely about uh, how do we really scale up the solution that really have some meaningful impact and that can be scaled up. And from a private player's point of view, I think collaboration is not largely so much over the government, but it's largely collaboration industry to industry to amplify, largely looking at business as an opportunity for sure to collaborate to grow bigger. And also in the context of corporate social responsibility or giving back, the collaboration is between industry and the NGOs to ensure that whatever that we have done together, we can do together much more. It's never one plus one, two in the context of social development context, but largely what we really look at 1 plus 2, 1 plus 1 is mostly as 11. So that's the amplifying effect that you really get when you work together. The last one, I think, once I think Dr. Hari Prasad put it so beautifully, saying that, yeah, this is one such platform that you see a collaboration, that we are coming together and trying to understand what really matters. I think it's all about that. Openness to connect, openness to work together is the first portion of the collaboration. Second, while you have got openness, it is also important for us to have a common purpose to solve a bigger problem. And of course, the last one is about while you have got openness, uh, in terms of the what you really want to solve, more of a purpose. Also about having a common statement, more like an action verb, is really important to work together to have that collaboration going for stronger and bigger for sure. And of course, as we progress, I'm sure, I think, based on my experiences, I would be able to share maybe a couple of more example of what really matters and how it really worked for me as we progress. Over to you, Karthik.
Thank you. Thank you, Nirbhay. It's a wonderful way of expressing your reflections, and we look forward for your exemplary things so that we can take it forward. Thank you once again to all the panelists. And over to you, Kavita, for the next round of questions.
Yeah, thanks, Karthikeyan. So I think that's actually a superb beginning, because that's what's important, that we first unpack the different layers of cross-sector collaboration. So different perspectives that that the panelists shared gives us a broad idea of what exactly we are talking about. So let's move on. In this section, this is round 2 of the panel discussion, and in this section, our focus is to understand each sector's perspective and motivation, around cross-sector collaboration. So the specific question that I have for the panel is this, that from your sector's perspective, why is cross-sector collaboration critical and vital? And the second part to this question also, that, what strength or contribution can your sector bring when we talk about these collaboration? What are those unique strengths and contributions that your sector can bring? So over to the panel. Anyone can go first.
Yes, Nirbhay,
Who
I'm
would
seeing
like
you
to
in the
go?
my
Yeah.
screen.
Yeah.
Please.
Okay, I think maybe Kavita, maybe I can start with what really works, or what really kickstarts and collaboration from an industry point of view. I think it's about I think I'll go back and reframe the answer that I spoke about on the collaboration the perspective. The first really important is about, from a private player point of view, it's about the common purpose. That's really critical for us. What are we trying to solve, or what are we trying to really build, or what are we trying to address? That's really important. It's really important for us to be on a common ground, to work together to solve a bigger problem. That's something that's not really one person or one institution's capability or caliber. I'm not undermining the caliber, the capacity of the institution. I'm only looking at the problem being a much bigger, that needs multiple stakeholders to come together and solve it. In the private place concept, it could be multifold. And then I'll come to the later part of it. How do we really solve the social problems or social challenges? In the context of the private place, it's largely about how do we really work together. While competitive advantages certainly we look at each one of us private players, we come with competitive advantage or the business acumen to solve a bigger problem or to make profits for sure. That being an underlining, but we always complement in certain context. Say we can always speak in the context of being in manufacturing or otherwise. We complement each other in the context of what really requires. It could be an input goods or it could be about raw material that we collaborate. But in the context of the social sector where nothing is in our control, be it the people whom we are really trying to help them or to come out, it could be empowering them with livelihoods, or it could be about empowering them with required skill sets, or could be about education to pursue for sure. Uh, we are an outsider, be it an NGO, be it a corporate that you really want to solve a bigger problem. You are an outsider trying to understand and assimilate a problem that's not belong to you, but you have that acumen or could be the passion to solve that problem. So therefore, one for sure is about what really matters is about understanding the ground realities. One for sure. Look at what really works there. It's not that in the corporate or the private or in the NGO sector that we are not the only ones who really tried and tested to solve a problem. You got multiple players trying to really solve a problem for sure. And for decades together, all of us are trying to something that build together and solve it. So there could be a possibility that someone has really helped to solve the problem earlier in a different way. Maybe we can need not necessarily fall into the same pitfalls someone has really traveled. So on that note, I think it's really important for us to pay attention what really has not worked, and then pay attention what could really work together for sure. The second, while we have the statement of intent to work together, the second foremost is also important in the social context is about willingness to collaborate, which is really important today. Uh, Today, all of us, most of, I think it's a reality today. I think most of us really work in silos. In the case, I've had about maybe 2 decades of experience working. The openness to accept someone's else experience. Also, it's really important for us to understand what really went well and what has not really gone well. So, therefore, I think openness is extremely critical. Having a common purpose for sure. The third, it's also really important in the context of private place. I think today, even in the context of corporate social responsibility, yeah, there are quite a few. In fact, in my own sense, in my roles, I have always partnered with private players when the problem was bigger than an institution's or a corporate's capacity. I'll give a classic example when we worked with. I'll give a classic. I'll not name it for a reason because it will not be right for me to really use the name. When we started working with schools to work on STEM, called STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and maths. The idea was to have some kind of systems, the computers in place, provide them with technology. That was really our capacity. But however, training was not our capacity per se. So we brought in an entity that really has done ton loads, lakhs of students they have trained. So we had a collaboration with them. And of course, when it came for an opportunity for us to scale up, I worked with Niti Aayog to work together with them to ensure that the scaling up has happened. But what if the scenario that we only worked on my own with those 10 schools, and I would have really worked with only 10 schools for about maybe an 8, 10 years, not being able to scale up. If we have a problem that we are able to have a solution in place, I think it's really not right to not to scale up. You need partners, like-minded partners for sure. You need resources, you need people who can really tell stories. So that's where I feel I think corporates also bring in while I'll not use the word marketing capability, but it's largely about how do you tell your story, the impact story. While being modest is really important, but you also need to tell stories of the impact. How did you create? And you need the other entities to be part of your storytelling to amplify those solutions.
Right. Thank you so much, Nirbhay. Now I'd like to, either Pushplata or Dr. Hari Prasad to come in.
Yeah, as far as our setup is concerned, Nirbhay ji was quite right and excellently put across that the openness for collaboration is an important aspect which really matters. In our setup, as far as public sector is concerned, we have an abundant of problems, and the contribution from our side could be we will be inviting people for the expertise. Largely, the public sector people like us will be generalists. Decision makers are generalists, and the people who will be contributing in the system are the specialists. And the generalists are the decision makers who will not be understanding the problem of the specialists. So now we require the specialists. So one can find the solutions or one can find the strategies for the existing problems wherein we require the collaboration. So Room to Read is specialist with the foundation literacy. Akshara Foundation is specialist for the foundation numeracy. Our Sanket is the specialist for working with the community or bringing people to the school or to the Lok Shikshan, that is mass education, adult literacy. So like this, there are specialists who are passionate to help in with the social developmental issues. So that's one thing where we require or we go for collaboration. That's one thing. Secondly, as Nirbhay was mentioning, its openness. Sometimes we close ourselves, especially in our setup. Some people who are the decision makers close so that we thinking that we could able to solve the problem. Now that's a critical area where we need to think, and again we require people. We request our NGOs to make people to open. Actually, institutional memory, the Samstha Smriti, what we call, is lacking in the government setup. People, we will be doing the same thing and we will be reinventing the same wheel many a times because of institutional memory. And the progression and the institutional memory will not be possible in the public sector because we will be dealing with the multiple works and multiple with the multiple programs. For example, in our school, there are 168 programs which are being implemented by the government itself. Apart from it, there will be many NGOs who will be coming with many interventions, and all put together will have to be experimented either at the school level or at the cluster level. So just to implement the 168 programs itself is a task. Now, those things are not being documented, are not even being shown to the setup that there are so many multiple things which are going on. Because of this magnitude of the process and the programs which are going there, we cannot be able to do the process documentation or the implementation study. Now, we request the specialists like NGOs where they can chip in and have this kind of program intervention or have process documentation and the institutional memory and make the people to open so that the one can know that there is a need for collaboration. So these are two important areas wherein we can also contribute, and we request NGOs. The third part is whenever one NGO is working, our lower level, one should not call one is a higher or lower, but the implementation part, people at the ground level have the scarce mentality. That means if one NGO is coming, the school will go for requesting things like a computer or a cycle or a teaching learning material or building or toilet or maintenance of that or electricity, something with the begging bowl or we have or that's one kind of scarce mentality where we go on requesting at the ground level. Now we require uh, uh, people who need to come to make these people to have the abundant mentality. That means everything is there at the school level. One has to utilize it. Or there are so many things around us, because at the primary sector in the local level, instead of going for computer, the connectivity is much more important, and the contextualization is much more important. There, at a village or in a forest remote level, the contextualization and the connectivity is an abundant environment where a school can work with, instead of going for the things which are purchased from outside. So now we request the specialists to chip in and develop such kind of attitude where the abundant mentality will help our children to learn. There are terms like no technology, low technology, and technology. This specialization we require from NGOs, and they come in and help us. See, like this collaboration is Nirbhay was telling us, it's not 1+1, it's 1 is 11. That kind of openness and the attitude we need to imbibe ourselves and immerse. So for which
Thank
we
you.
also we look ourselves. I'm sorry if I'm going too far. Thank you.
Absolutely, fantastic points, Dr. Hari Prasad. Now I'd like to ask Pushplata ji to share her perspectives.
So one question was like, what is the motivation? I think that articulated by everyone. It's like your passion for the mission that you are in. So if my mission is developing a reading culture, so anyone that would come along with that mission, I have to align. And in terms of perspective, when you look at any issue, it's actually an ecosystem approach. So until unless you deal with any mission or any problem statement from an ecosystem perspective, you cannot really bring out any change, whatever design, whatever processes that we have. And when I use the word ecosystem, that means every stakeholder gets engaged into it. So that is like a non-negotiable that we all have to understand. And just giving a practical example from my own experiences is that if we were working on developing habit of reading, so it was the demand side and the supply side. Is there any demand for books? Are the parents understanding? So you have to engage with them. Are the children finding it very engaging to read the books? You have to engage with them. Are the teachers able to make the books arouse a curiosity among children for that? So you're talking to them also. And then, as very rightly said, maybe we may do it in X number of school, but if you want to reach out to all the schools, then it is engaging with the government. And then the publisher industries, are they producing the books in a way that they'll be loved by children? Because at times I may put up a book, but the child may not read it. So it is like when you're looking at things, you have to look things from an ecosystem, and you have to see how each and every component has to be played in together. So it's like an orchestra that you say, that you sync in all the different music instrument together, and then the right song comes in. So that's my take on this. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I think, all very important points all of you just talked about. So I particularly, would like to highlight 2, 3 key points, different sectors. First of all, as Nirbhay talked about, complementing each other, or the importance of finding a common purpose, or the willingness on the parts of different sectors to sort of come together, from a specialized having that kind of knowledge from that perspective, or from the perspective of having the reach, having the ability to be able to reach to a greater number of people or to the geographies. And the ecosystem approach, Pushplata ji, that you talked about, which means that, all right, different sectors are part of a system and need to sort of work together. Very well put. But there is a but here. But the reality of collaboration, as we all know, is often dictated by the challenges of, what we call alignment, the challenges of aligning the different sectors, in the generally, and also in the context of, specific cross-sector collaborations. So before we delve into the panelists' perspective about what these challenges are, we would first like to hear from our participants, when they think of collaboration, what's the one thing that they really find challenging? So I would request, the Mentimeter. So there would be a request that will pop up on your screen. Kindly click the join button, and that means you'll be able to respond to this question. So choose an element that you find most difficult to align among diverse stakeholders. Come on, participants. Everyone, please give your responses. All right, we have some responses coming in. Okay. All right. So, okay, it's steadily growing, the number of responses. What I see as, okay, we have one response for the shared metrics as well. So far, no one finds the challenge related to, use of sector-specific jargon as a challenge, which means that can be easily taken care of. All right, I think for most of our participants, it's the challenge actually relates to maybe alignment of the timeline and pace of work. So maybe one actor or one partner wanting it to be, maybe a little quicker, but then aligning of the pace is a challenge. But we do have responses for securing long-term leadership buy-in as well. So I think someone talked about it. I mean, if I relate it to the previous responses, someone talked about it that, one of the panelists, that it's important to then work with the government, and we have some of the responses around accountability versus quality of delivery challenges. All right. So these are some of the, insights from the participants. Now we'll segue into the third round, which is all about challenges and barriers around collaboration. So thank you so much, everyone, for, responding to the poll. Karthik, over to you.
Yeah, we will keep that whatever the result has come. So we'll connect to the challenges. We all know that collaboration sounds wonderful in theory, but in the real test, navigating them, difficulties and a lot of challenges are there. So I'm asking all the three of you, what are the some biggest challenges you have faced while collaborating across sectors? And also please share how did you manage it, and with a short story or a lesson learned through that process. Yeah, Hari Prasad sir, you can take this question.
So there are areas of difficulties and there are certain challenges. Areas of difficulties are ownership. Many a times collaboration, we call it, but one time giving and going off. So distributing computers or giving textbook, notebooks, or distributing uniforms, providing shoes, or providing bicycle. It's a one-time affair, and afterwards, uh, uh, as an on-time intervention and going off is something which for a long time I have been observing. We call it corporate social responsibility. Here, it's a corporate giving responsibility is okay, but what about social responsibility? Having ownership of the same thing, collaborating with an institution or with an agency, so that the long-term effect could be seen. So instead of one-time affair, if we could able to relate together and come together and go on working, is one challenge which I have come across. Second one is qualitative involvement. That is another challenge. The third one is sometimes it's very challenging with our own people attitude in the government setup, attitude of the people within the government setup who will sometimes close the gates and will not be open up. And the fourth one is accountability from both the sides. So these are all some of the areas of difficulty. But the challenge I have come in my area is the community, involving community in the programs. especially in the involvement of community with the adult education, Lok Shikshan. And the second was bringing the children to the school mainstream, OAC, out of school children. These are some of the biggest challenges wherein
Right.
We faced a lot of difficulties, but I personally failed in bringing the people and the NGOs or even CSR for adult education, Lok Shikshan. I failed many a times, and there are it's a least explored area. And the second one is with the teacher education. There also strengthening diets and strengthening teacher education institutions where there is absolutely very less focus and absolutely no focus to some extent, if I say, in my 25 years of experience.
Right.
This is another challenge. But
Thanks, Hari Prasad. Just I
thank you.
want to keep it brief because
It's
to see the time. Yeah, thanks a lot. Pushpalata, what are the challenges and
one specific channel and the solutions, because all the partners in the collaboration come up with a very different operating environment, which has been written because everyone is governed by their own ways of working. And for example, if I give you an example, what we did under foundational literacy, because government had its own timeline when the books have to be printed, we had our own timeline as per our own annual planning. So it's actually the co-creation part which helps, where both the parties come together and have that dialogue open up. And everyone knows like the deliverables that each party has to come in. So that is the kind of open dialogue that is there. And I think just one point and one more line, it is about what Dr. Hari Prasad also said. It is about a trust that gets built over a period of time. It's not a one-time affair. It is something that you revise based on the feedback again and again, making your processes more tuned to the need of the community and the target audience.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Nirbhay, you have any thought on that?
Yeah, I think I did hear from Pushplata ji as well as I think did we lose Doctor there?
Yeah, he's there.
Yeah. I think that couple of things that really miss is I think two parts. One for sure is about the immediate goals or the short-term goals are really important. And what are we looking at end of the, are we looking at an outcome or are we looking at the output? The largely what really happens in a collaboration, what really doesn't go well is about some of us are really interested in doing deep dive. What does it mean? That we want to limit ourselves to a small space or could be an program that is really enriching and deep dive. We really want to pick it up something and we want to go deep. If you are part of a primary education, we not only want to entertain ourselves to work with children, teacher education, maybe some school supplies, or could be physical infrastructure that we look at it, right? But sometimes also what happens that in a collaboration, yes, they do want to work in primary education, but their focus is largely about low touch. There's something called, we call it like deep dive and low touch, which is low touch is largely about, they look at purely numbers. It's not about, did I help school children move from point A to point B in terms of an achieving the goal? When I say that, are we aiming at grade 3 children to read 2 sentences very well and write them well, maybe single or 2-digit arithmetic they do well, versus looking at saying that no, I will, instead of that, I look at, am I able to distribute stationery supplies to 100,000 schools? So there's always a mismatch between two collaborators. One would really serious about efforts, which is deep dive, would really take long term to have an impact because they look at not just primary school grade 3, but they look at grade maybe pre-primary grade 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they progress. Then maybe the other entity is largely looking at just do the school supply, which is like a low touch, then move away. So every year they come once in a year, do it and move away from the school. Not move away, basically maybe low touch. So therefore, there is a big issue in understanding what does that defining the impact itself. That's one. Second, in these, what also happens at the end beneficiary has no choice. What we typically call it in the development discourse, we call it the needs assessment. Unfortunately, there's a lack of needs assessment based on the ground reality. What really the school, the teachers, and the students are really looking for is really important to assess. I think if it is based on a needs assessment, what is really required, because one size does not fit in the context of social development. The grade 1 child requires very different inputs. Grade 3 child having difficulty in learning also needs a very different input within a class. So you have, I'm just talking purely in the context of schooling here, given I understand that you have got plenty of you in the context of the school system. So therefore, I think given the various requirements, I think it's really important for us to understand the needs assessment. What each entity is coming, or the corporate, or could be a private player, or could be NGO coming with their expectation. The third, which is really equally important, what really the end beneficiary want? Did we really go and check with them what they really want? What are those short-term, immediate, short-term, and mid-term goals that we are looking at it? The last one, which is the base of everything, is the government. Are we making government as a collaborator? Are we making them just pure play in terms of platform to make use them, come visit a school, give away, and run away from there? So therefore, one, collaboration in real sense, understand the expectation. Government needs to be part and parcel from the day one if you're looking at scaling up a solution. The third, definition itself of what you really want end up based on the needs assessment really critical to have common goals to solve a bigger problem. Else we will be shooting. Yes, we are running. Yes, the expectation is run, but we do not know where are we running. Yes, all of us are running independent of
Correct.
what's really required. All of us are getting tired, but are we running in the same direction? All of us are really want to solve towards achieving a common goal.
Yeah. Thank you, Nirbhay, for sharing that. I have one follow-up question to Dr. Hari Prasad. You talked about the ownership and the quality attitude of the government. So how can we manage this? How can we work with the government with the kind of things, the challenges we have?
Asking
Nirbhai ji
me,
was very.
I'm
He,
asking Hari Prasad, is there? Yeah.
Nirbhai ji quite rightly put across the important aspect like running in the right direction together. Instead of having a one-time affair or low touch, having collaboration with the deep dive. So there are need assessment, but each NGO might be having its own priorities and its own space, which may not be suitable for the ground realities. So need assessment is something which is very important, and there are needs. If NGOs or anybody want to come into the field for social developmental issues, especially with the educational background with which I'm aware of, there are certain needs like no, it's a global issue like FLN, Foundation Literacy and Numeracy. It's a global issue, not only in India, anywhere in the world. So that is the area where we need partnership, we need collaboration. Second one is low achievement. You might have observed with the Parakaraza report. So learning outcomes achievement. We restrict ourselves for content and not for the learning outcomes which are really meaningful. So that's the second part. And the third one is teacher education. The fourth one is
You talked about teacher education. You talked about the diet.
and the 21st century skills, which is another stuff. And then the learning disability. Actually, for children, especially, there are a lot of funds which are coming from the government itself, and even from the corporate social responsibility. But one area which is not being explored is the learning disability area, where 7 types of learning disabilities right now are not being addressed, and no research is also being taken place in our setup. So these are all the areas. If anyone comes up, government funds, government is ready to accept or want the help from the people. So this kind of need assessment
will help in
and
identifying.
Easily one can have the collaboration with the government sector.
All right. Thank you very much, Hari Prasad, for elaborating that, and we also got to know what kind of support we can get with the government. With that, thank you very much for taking this question, and giving a brief idea about what are the challenges we are facing. Yeah, over to you, Kavita, for the next round.
All right. Yeah, thank you so much, Karthikeyan. I think, see, in one way or the other, all our panelists have talked about, the importance of, coming together, looking in the same direction, working together, and at the same time, the sector strengths that we bring in. Be mindful of the sector strengths that we have, our respective strengths. Now, see, the purpose of all these collaboration is to bring a positive and is to bring a sustained change on the ground. And just like these strengths, each sector also comes, with its own limitations. And then we just talked about different kind of challenges that we face when we talk about, cross-sector collaboration. So what we are now trying to understand that when we think about success, how does success look like for each of the sectors? So what I would like to ask all of you is to share maybe some two key aspects that define success in a cross-sector collaboration for your specific sector. We can go in any order.
Actually, I didn't get the
Yeah.
question. Success. No, I didn't get the question.
Okay, I'd like to elaborate. So I'd like to elaborate. So for example, when Nirbhay was speaking, he gave some examples, right? That so many schools getting something, some kind of infrastructure, right? Maybe, and I'm just assuming and sharing this as an example, maybe for the government, ticking that box of so many schools have gotten this particular, resource is a success. What we're trying to understand that when we come together, and we have a common purpose, what would success look like, or what would indicate a shared impact?
Okay.
Is it same when we are looking into the same direction? Is it same for all the sectors, or there is some kind of layered understanding even there as well?
Yeah, I got it. Now the success, one is the assumed success, and the second one is the success with an impact. So the success could be, as far as assumed success could be, providing, there are 64,000 schools are being provided with reading cards. It's a success. Or around 10,000 schools were provided with notebooks. It's a success. So this is an assumed success. It's the kind of inputs and low touch kind of a thing, but it's not that success. It's just the numbers. The success could be bringing all the children to the school, out of school children, and retained them at the school for 7 years is the success, for which long-term collaboration is required. Or children with the 56% of India's children, recent Parak says that 34% of ninth grade students do not have the capacity of grade 2 students, though they are in the 10th grade, in the ability of reading and understanding, comprehension. Now the success could be this 70 for this 68% has gone up to 74%. That is also the number, but working with the government or working with the people, this we could able to come up from 68 to 74. There are classic examples like Himachal Pradesh or Uttar Pradesh. They are trying now. Himachal Pradesh was in 2017 was at the lower ladder. Now Himachal Pradesh, the state, is in the higher order, in the top three, one among the top three states with learning outcome, with the quality of learning of the students. Now, that could be the success. Right. So I'll just go next. I'll go to the principles instead of saying with the elaboration. I'll go to that afterwards when Pushplata ji and Nirbhay ji shares. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Hari Prasad. Who would like to go next?
Pushplata can go to Nirbhay's.
So one thing definitely is the success comes from different data indicators that we have it. If we say the NAS result,
Wow.
Bharat result, if we say, okay, that is one. Critically important is the processes that are being followed to achieve at that particular, because that would determine whether it is a sustainable impact or not. So at times it is just the knowledge transfer, but is it the attitudinal change, and is it coming in practices? So I would say the classroom practices also shown any kind of
Changed.
change or not. So that is the second part. And third part is about the capacities that gets developed in that process. So anytime if the NAS result maybe in this particular came in, but if actually the classroom processes of the teacher through coaching and mentoring has changed, so this results stays on with the system, with the people who are facilitating these changes. So these are two critical things. So as always said, data doesn't speak always the entire stories. It's always the narrative that comes along with the data that are equally important. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, for sharing that perspective. Over to you, Nirbhay.
I think it's the more and more I hear about uh, the engagement part of collaboration, it's a common purpose for sure, which is really critical. What really matters or important is about the collaborators need to really sit together, uh, have a common understanding for sure. The second, you need to have an intermediary in the context of larger social issues. It's a government that we really work together. We need to make all the collaborators, including the government, part of the partnership from the day zero, not day one for sure. Having a common purpose, collaboration, having no, it's the collaboration not just about the resources. It's not about the monetary just alone. I think it's also about the mental set of the mentality of the all the stakeholders coming together. The last portion, which is really equally important, is about when something really successful really are taken up and really the impact is created. How do you really communicate that who really owns of the success also is equally important. It's not about number of schools I really have done outreach. It's not just about number of children that I'm able to move from point 8 from the assessment. Like the professor was talking about, grade 9 children are not do not have a standard of grade 3. How do we really, if at all we are made successful, how do we take that ownership? Say that is each one of us have put together. The last one, which is extremely critical in the collaboration to work, is about end of the goal should not just about having those goals achieved. There should be a policy paper or a white paper to assimilate, aggregate those learnings onto a paper, publish it, and let it be in the public domain so that people, for the future generations, if they really want to try something, they should really benefit out of it. And of course, see, all of us are individuals. We come and go, but the institutions really stay stronger. They stay for much longer than what we really believe in it. I think we need to really strengthen those institutions to own up the success, including the failure. Document and move on.
Yeah, that's a good thought. Yeah.
All right. I think thank you so much. That's a very comprehensive take on how we look at, shared success and shared impact. Very well put, Dr. Hari Prasad, when you talked about assumed success, and Pushplata ji, when you're talking about that processes are equally important, or capacities that are being built, over that course is actually an indicator of success. And as Nirbhay put it, that aggregating that learning, and in fact, your point, Nirbhay, reminds me of the point that Dr. Hari Prasad made earlier, that institutional capacity, in the sense that maybe case studies or exemplars of how collaborations have worked well, documenting them, aggregating them, the way you just put it. So with this, we are winding up round 4 of the panel discussion, and we are opening the floor for the questions. And for this particular segment, I would like to invite Aarti, as she'll be facilitating the question and answer round. Over to you, Aarti.
Thank you very much, Kavita, and thank you so much, Dr. Hari Prasad, Pushplata, Nirbhay, for a very insightful discussion today. And some of the pain points that have come across. It's very difficult to have all stakeholders in the same table, in the same room, discussing this so frankly. So thanks very much for bringing sort of a multi-perspective conversation to the table. I'm glad to open the Q&A section now, and this is how we will run the Q&A. We have some questions on the chat, which we are going to take up to each of our panelists. I'm going to bring them to you one-to-one, but I also invite our audience who would like to ask their questions directly to raise their hands, and I will bring you in to ask your questions directly. I will take one question from the chat that has been asked previously, and then I will ask and invite a member of the audience to ask their questions live. So if anyone would like to ask your questions, please raise your hands so that you can join the queue. So in the meanwhile, let me put up the questions that we have received from the audience. So the first question that we got is for Dr. Hari Prasad. Dr. Hari Prasad, the question that we've got is, what in your view are some small concrete steps organizations can take to start a meaningful collaboration with government, even if they don't have a formal MOU yet? Because MOU seems to become this big stumbling block. So
That's right. That's right. So, collaboration with the government could take place without MOU, even without funds, in a small way, helping foundation literacy, helping for achievement of FLN. The second one is our government setup. We have large number of vacancies. 54,000 vacancies are there in government in southern state like Karnataka. So around 40%, 30% of the teachers are vacant, and the schools require teachers. At least we need volunteers who can come to the school for an hour and teach. They may be the college students, or they may be the graduates, or people who in whatever way they can come and help us. It's not just the literacy or numeracy. They can come, help, play with the students, because these days, because of the minuscule families, there is no social interaction for the students. So school has to become the neighbor. School has to become the parent in some way. So one can come, help the students, play with the students, and go, or make them to learn. So without any funds or without any, one can go for. And the Lok Shikshan, adult education, is an area where one can meaningfully collaborate. And at least during the evening hours, instead of going for serial or for social media, our youngsters spend a lot of time in social media, in WhatsApp or LinkedIn or something. Not this. What's that? Insta chat or anything. Instead of that, they can come to the school, or they can go to Lok Shikshan, or go to the volunteers and help the just adults to become literates, for which there is no money required, no MOU required. It's just working from my own side as a reflective practitioner.
right. Yes.
So these are all some of the areas. There are 7 areas where no need of MOU or no need of fund. One can go voluntarily or motivate others and go and work. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Hari Prasad. So also what I'm getting is get a feel of the system by first going and working and volunteering and see what those problems and issues are before directly coming with a program in mind or MOU in mind or something. So that will also give them the feel of the system by going and volunteering with the schools. Thank you so much, Dr. Hari Prasad. We have one member from the audience who would like to ask a question. Sinjini, please unmute and ask a question.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for such an insightful discussion today. My question is actually to Nirbhay. I just wanted to ask you that you spoke about the amplifying effect of collaboration and also how openness is important when it comes to collaboration. So I wanted to understand that in so many years of your journey, what kind of collaboration have you seen which has worked, and what were the collaborations that did not work, and what was the reason for that? The context which enabled it to work, maybe if you could throw some light on that, would be really nice.
Thanks, Sinjini, for asking that. I think what really worked, it's really important to understand is shared or the common goal is really important. While individually we might have our own goals or our own ambitions to really achieve, what's really important for us to have, organizationally also need to think alike. Both the organizations, both the partners, or could be government, could be private place, number one for sure. You have to have a common thread for sure. The second, which is really important in such a context, is also about trust. Unfortunately, trust is extremely difficult these days because each one of us are suspicious of others, not knowing what pitfalls are there. So, therefore, we need to really break the barrier of trust, suspicion to start with. Build that trust as an platform that really can connect. Trust leads to networking. I think the private players here need to understand that all of us can work together with the government, and then we can really solve the bigger problem. The third, foremost, is really important is about while we might have our own ambitions, we might have our own goals. What's really important for us to about look at some of these collaborations, networking opportunities. It's so critical. It's not just about having, it's not just about we look for purely for financial resources as collaborations. The collaboration can come from multiple sources. Could be people, could be resources, could be monetary, could be networking, could be technology. So there could be any way that there are multiple ways of really connecting with each other. So what really worked for me in the past or been working for me is about, I think, trust for sure is number one. Beyond trust, I think it's about common purpose that we need to really identify. Individually, we maybe differ as leaders of the organizations, but when it comes to solving a bigger problem, it's about organization we need to really sync up each other, look at it. The last, which is important, is about document the effort. Unfortunately, we do not document. We really, we are really not really good at in terms of documenting what really went well and what really did not go well. It's really important for us to document not really went well. So personally, uh, for sure, it's about more than trust. I think humility also really helps in the partnership because you're solving someone else's problem where people have been happy, contented without you being there. So therefore, if you do not have that humility to say that I want to understand and solve your problem, there's no meaning to go there and solve someone else's problem.
Thank you very much, Nirbhay, giving such a wide range perspective on the question from Sinjini. And thank you, Sinjini, for asking the question. I'll take one other question from the chat, and then I will come to Richa, who's joined the queue. So this is the question I'd like to ask Pushplata ji, and then maybe Nirbhay and Dr. Hari Prasad can chime in as you feel. But the question that has come up is, as an NGO working at the grassroots, we often face increasing compliance requirements and changing government regulations. So could you please share your insights on the current scenario of NGO compliance, government expectations, and how small or mid-level organization could stay updated and be compliant while focusing on the impact work? So what are your experiences?
It's like a tightrope walk nowadays, because I think the amount of compliances that have increased on the NGO sector are very huge. So one is definitely you have to keep that compliances in mind. If you talk of anything like be it FCRA, 12A, the reporting, so that is one segment that one has to cater into. And second comes like the compliances that come from the government. If you have an MOU with the government, the kind of reporting, and at times the turnaround time by which the information is accessed are almost at times hours, at times days, because there may be certain reporting that has to be done further into that. Within that, like keeping the core focus of the work, because at the end of the day, the credibility, the trust of the organization comes from the impact. So it is keeping in mind like what we are here for. At times, like there have been demands from the government, which we have to say no, because that is not my area of expertise, or maybe that is not I would agree to, because there are certain core pedagogical principles, core organization values that we all stand for. So at times, it is also about taking a stand of why we are here. And as I said last, we have to keep in mind that why we are here, because at times I cannot be just an organization which is just an extended hand of say the government or the CSR just executing the things the way they are there. So we have to keep our voices also, to keep in mind that we are doing it for the larger impact for that child that we are working with. We have to keep that as paramount. So that's a tightrope to walk.
Thank you, Pushplata, but keeping the organization value and impact in mind, so that you are not making that rope tighter for yourself is a key and important point. Thank you. Nirbhay, Dr. Hari Prasad, would you like to comment on that?
No, 100% what Pushpalata ji told. It's 100% correct. Now, having reflection that why we are here, and that reminds us to go forward. That's an important issue. That only makes to function well and work together. No? Otherwise, the other important point is that there will be a lot of changes in the policies and programs of the government. But as an NGO, if you are right with the principles, then the policy changes will not have any result over the program. If we are symptomatic and doing only the strategies, not the core principle, not working with the principles, then whenever the change in the policy will have an impact on the NGO. So having core principles very strong and working for the principle with the principles, only principles make us to go for strategies. So some many a times our strategies with which we adjust with the principles, then only we suffer. So having core principle and why are we here? That what Pushpalata ji told is an important point with which one can work, and that will not have any problem with the change of the person or the policy of the government. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anything to add, Nirbhay?
No, I'm good. I think both of them come from the sector where they work so closely from a sectoral point of view. I think I can't but agree with their point of view.
Excellent. Thank you. Let me bring Richa in. Richa, please ask your question.
Thanks, Aarti. A wonderful conversation on a very open-ended topic. There are so many layers and so many nuances. And at one point, Dr. Hari Prasad, mentioned that have we achieved the goal? Yes. And have we achieved the goal with impact? And I'm sure the goal is to kind of achieve anything with impact. That's an ideal situation. So I want to understand that when the government is looking at, kind of starting with certain need gap, are we in a place where we are actually, looking out that this is putting it out there that these are the ideal, kind of situation, these are the gaps that are existing, and now we are looking at collaborators? Or is it that we are starting with the fact that these are the existing known, sector experts and, just bring them in? What kind of a scenario exists right now? Are we, really reaching out and making sure that we have the best possible solutions coming to the government? Because I'm sure there are various possibilities in a country like India where there's so much of innovation happening in multiple streams. So just want to get an understanding that how does it kind of work currently, and where are we kind of driving towards?
Yeah, right now there are many NGOs or many organizations who are expert in their field, and with their expertise, they are coming to the government and extending their hands. So instead of that, one can have the need assessment. Nirbhay ji in the beginning itself told need assessment is an area where we need to work with. So after having that need assessment and coming for the partnership, that will help a lot. Currently, which is not happening. Please excuse me for very sarcastic. That if somebody had become very rich by selling the junk, and that person is very innovative and very rich with a specialist as a seller of junk, and with that background, they are helping our government schools to go for some junk that may not be required at the school itself. So these things are happening in multiple ways in a public setup. Instead of that, there are certain need areas. We are feeling that there is a partnership required, and there, if anybody comes, no, that will have an impact and that will help the society. 21st century is a century of many innovations and lot of technology, but technology and AI or SI, synthetic intelligence also, can help our schools or students with the need areas again. So instead of straight away bringing the technology itself is not that important. Through the technology, we could able to help our children, our school, or the people who are in the remote area, or the SCDG, socially economically disadvantaged group. If they are being helped, then only we can go for the. We may not go for impact. We just have the feeling that they are being helped. That itself is a success. So every success will not be with the success story. There can be a failure, but they are being helped. That is the thing, which makes us to be reflective practitioners. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hari Prasad, and thank you, Richa, for that question. Unfortunately, that's all that we have time for. And so for anybody who's not been able to ask, please just leave your questions on the chat and we'll see if we can get some views on that from our panelists later. So over to you, Karthik and Kavita, to take us to conclusion. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Aarti. And thanks to our participants for asking the questions, and the panelists for responding to these questions. Gives us a lot of food for thought. Many points for further reflections as well. So we are
Kavita,
right on.
let's keep this very brief. Let the
Yes.
panelists answer in a very short
Absolutely.
answers. Yeah.
So we are about to wrap up, but before that, we would like to ask one concluding question to our panelists. It's a kind of a rapid fire. You can take this question as that, in the sense that the question is rapid and your answer also needs to be very concise and maybe, brief. So the question actually is this, that what would be the one key expectation or support that you want, from your sector's perspective, that you want from the other two sectors for a cross-sector collaboration to work? What would be one key expectation or support that you want from the other two sectors for your cross-sector collaboration to work? Over to you.
For us, have you asked it me for all of us, or is it?
This is a question for all of you. Yeah.
Okay, teachers and teachers. We have
Both
so many
sides.
vacancies from both sides.
Yeah.
Helping
First, I think
teachers or being teachers.
Can you just elaborate a little more? What do you mean when you say
we have a
teachers?
lot of vacancies. We have a lot of vacancies, and school quality is directly linked with the teachers. And we have many schools where only one teacher is working for 7 sections, 7 grades, or 2 teachers working for 5 grades. So with 34 subjects. So we need we need teachers, or we need some people for which salary could be given. That's the straight expectation from us.
All right. Nirbhay, you want to go next? So from
I was really
corporate,
talking about,
maybe
I think it's
CSR
about
perspective.
trust, which is really important for a mutual collaboration. It's really critical.
Great. Pushplata, over to you.
Yeah, I think always having this question as to for whom we are working, are we really making an impact? And if our collaboration together is leading to that. So that is a question we should keep asking every time.
All right. Thank you so much. I think absolutely spot on. Thanks for being, brief, also being candid. I think these are also some of the major takeaways from today's session, again, coming back to the point of trust, and then again, coming back to the point of, being really putting out our actual needs, out there. So I would now want to invite Karthik for the closing remarks. Over to you, Karthik.
Yeah. Thank you, Kavita. A big thank you to all our panelists, Dr. Hari Prasad, Nirbhay Lumde, and Pushplata, for your openness, your honesty, and your insights. And also, I'd like to thank everyone in the audience. Your participation, energy, and reflections made these sessions truly interactive. And as a remark, today's discussion reminded us that cross-sector collaboration isn't a choice anymore. It's a necessity, and challenges we face are too complex for any single sector to solve, right? So with a note, let's continue to build bridges that create lasting change. Goodbye and have a great evening. See you tomorrow at the same
Just
time. For...
one request. We are sharing a feedback form on the link. And if all the people could it's a very short feedback form, if you could fill it up before you drop out. That's a very small request. And in the meanwhile, Karthik, please continue with thanking our panel.
Yeah, thank you once again. And it was a great discussion. And we'll keep in touch with you, and we'll have more insights about the expansion and whatever we discussed here, we can talk about that.
Can
See
I
you
add
tomorrow.
one point, Karthik?
Yeah.
Means I'll again thanking all the panelists as well as the audience. Just one point is that when we are talking about cross-sector collaboration, it is such a critical thing these days, and perhaps we are still struggling. How do we connect to each other? Connection is also important, and also believing in what we do together is we are addressing the same problem somewhere or the other. So perhaps how do we connect, keep connecting, keep asking the right questions, and also believing in each other's whatever they are doing, even if whatever the government is doing from their perspective, from the organization perspective, and even the corporate sector, because every organization, every sector has its own priorities, and it might be different for everybody. But at the end of the day, we are all addressing, say, for example, education or health or environment, etc., etc. The problem is the same. Maybe the way we are addressing with our expertise is different. But yes, this is a good what you call is important point, and we can continue to debate and continue to talk about it. Thank you so much again.
Thank you once again. And thank you, Nirbhay. Thank you, Pushplata, Dr. Hari Prasad, for being with us for the last 90 minutes and shared all your insights.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anamika ji. Thank you, Pushplata
Thanks,
ji.
everyone.
Nirbhay ji.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you, Karthik. Thank you, Kavita.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
काट दिया। अच्छा, अब लिखा आ जाएगा ना, हीरल भी है कॉल में, स्मार्ट।
Thank you. As you all leave, please fill up the feedback form, and then please, you are free to sign off.
Kavita is dropped off, right?
Yeah.